Hello everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to my full moon readathon reading vlog. This is a readathon hosted by Jan over at her channel, Jordyn. And as a readathon, she is hosting in tandem with or inspired by her monthly book club, the Full Moon Book Club, where she chooses the book every month and has a co-host join her in reading it and discussing it, and they do a live show on the date of the full moon every month, which is such a fun idea and perfectly in line with Jan and her brand and everything. So I absolutely love it. And this month she is doing a week-long readathon called the Full Moon Readathon, where she has created 4 different characters that people can read prompts for to earn and I guess kind of collect the different characters that they want to collect. This is such a fun little idea for a readathon. People can read just a couple books and earn 1 character if they want. People can read multiple books and try to collect all the characters. And most of the prompts are spooky in nature, of course, to stay with like the full moon spooky vibes idea. So here's the thing, I'm a little late in starting this readathon. Today is Tuesday, August 9th. The readathon actually started on Sunday the 7th and goes until this coming Sunday the 14th. The last couple days I've been finishing up a romance vlog that I was working on. Those did not fit the prompt for this readathon, so I thought I would wrap that up before I got into my full moon readathon. TBR. I do still think I have plenty of time to collect at least 1 character because including today, I've still got 6 days of reading time, plus the full moon, I think, when I googled it, is on the 11th of this month, so I haven't even passed the full moon yet. So let's talk about what I'm going to read for this readathon. Again, I'm only going to start with trying to get 1 character, and after looking at all of the prompts, I think I'm going to go with the bat, and to earn the bat, I have to do 2 reading prompts in order and then an activity prompt. Starting with the books, the first reading prompt is to read a book with black on the cover, and for that, I'm going to read Notes on an Execution by Danya Kafka. I have seen this book absolutely everywhere recently, and I knew I wanted to read it this month, so when I saw that it had black letters and black on the cover, I thought it would be perfect for this prompt. It's also relatively short, so great for a readathon. I believe this is like a slow literary thriller, or maybe more of a drama. I don't know if there's really any thrill here or if it's just like slow, creepy vibes. Literary suspense, that is the word I was looking for. It says it deconstructs the story of a serial killer on death row, told primarily through the eyes of the women in his life. A lot of people have been loving this book recently. I've seen it on people's favorite books of the year so far lists, so it seems like it's going to be very impactful and an interesting take on the serial killer trope. Plus it's on Scribd, so I'm very excited to get started with that book first. And then the second prompt towards earning the bat is to read a dark academia and or vampire book. I definitely don't have any vampire books on my TBR. That's a little too fantasy for me. Are you crooked? That's a little bit too fantasy for me, so I'm going to go with the Dark Academia and read The Finalists by David Bell. This is a book I've never seen anyone read or talk about. I just saw it at Target, was intrigued by the cover, so I picked it up and read the synopsis, was intrigued enough to pick it up and read it. So this is about a competitive selection process for a prized college scholarship that turns deadly. It looks like it's going to follow 6 different college students with nothing in common except for the inability to pay for their school. And so they are entering a competition for the super prestigious scholarship. They must surrender their devices when they enter Hyde House, which is an aging structure that sits on a secluded part of the campus. Once they're inside, the doors are locked behind them. They're not allowed to leave until they spend 8 hours with a college administrator who will do almost anything to keep the school afloat. If the students leave before the time is up, they'll be immediately disqualified, and then one of the people drops dead. So I definitely think this fits the dark academia vibe because it is set on a college campus and turns into murder. This one is a little bit on the longer side, getting up to almost 400 pages, and I don't know of an audiobook, so I think I'm gonna have to read this one physically. So that's why I'm only gonna start with these 2 books as my TBR for the readathon. And then the activity prompt to complete to earn the bat is to post an all black outfit of the day, which I can definitely do. I own lots of black clothes, but I have to wait to do that until after I've read both of these books. So that is the plan. Today is Tuesday, like I mentioned. It's the morning right now, so I have to work. I will put on the audiobook of Notes on an Execution if I can throughout the day, but otherwise going to be going through my normal workday routine. We'll check in when I have an update on the book. It looks like there are some reading sprints happening on the 11th on Jan's channel as part of this readathon, so I will try to join those on Thursday. But otherwise, don't really know what I'll be up to this week. I'll take you along for whatever I'm doing. But first things first, I'll get started on my first book and I will let you know when I have an update on how that one's going. hello everyone. It is the next day. I don't have much to update on life-wise because I spent most of yesterday working, doing family time, but I did actually listen to the entirety of Notes on an Execution, so I can give my thoughts on that. This is a very interesting book, and that's what I was expecting going into it. Seeing people's reviews and how they talk about this book, I knew it was going to be thought-provoking. This is kind of the exploration of this guy who is on death row. He's waiting to be executed. And the book jumps around from his perspective and then also the perspective of, I think it's 3 different women that he knew throughout his life. And we get like past and present and just a whole bunch of information about this guy's life and the women's lives that he impacted. I'm going to say right off the bat, I don't enjoy books, movies, TV shows from serial killers' perspectives. I don't know why, I never have. I just don't connect with them. I never liked Dexter. The couple of books that I have read with this trope, like My Lovely Wife or For Your Own Good, maybe a couple others that I can't remember off the top of my head, they just don't work for me. And I think it's because I honestly just feel no empathy towards them. Not that you're always supposed to, but I think the intrigue of books from serial killers' perspectives is sometimes being inside their head, you can actually start to understand why they're doing what they're doing. And it's kind of a conflicting feeling that you have within yourself when you're like, I know this person is doing something wrong and I shouldn't have any empathy towards them, but because I'm in their head, I can see what drove them to those decisions. And so I have these weird conflicting feelings within myself, and that makes me feel guilty. And most people, I think, like that uncomfortable feeling. For some reason, I just don't feel the empathy towards them, and I just don't enjoy being in their heads. So with that, right off the bat, I didn't have that connection with this guy to begin with, or I didn't have that like conflict of interest type feeling that I think a lot of people have and enjoyed in this book. So without that feeling, the rest of this book was just the women in his life. And for some reason, that also just wasn't super interesting to me. I was kind of wondering what the point was of following these different characters. I don't know. I just didn't feel a deep connection in general. And so without that, I don't think this book hits. I think you need emotional connection, you need empathy. And I think I'm an empathetic person, but for some reason I just wasn't feeling these characters. But I love that it is working for people. I love that this is connecting with people. I'm seeing a lot of people come out of this book contemplating like the death penalty and whether serial killers or people sentenced to death should be put into rehab or something instead to try to fix them. I don't know. I understand those thoughts and those conversations. I'm just not sure why it's not working for me. I also didn't like right at the end, I don't think this is a spoiler, but this man killed these women, and at the very end there's like statements about what those women would have done with their lives, and it was said in like a factual way, like this woman would have done this job and would have impacted these people. And I'm just like, where is that information coming from? Like, is that the universe speaking, or is that this guy speaking from the afterlife, or like what? I don't know where that came from, and I wasn't really sure what the point of that was. So that also left me with a weird taste at the end. So I feel like I'm kind of bashing this book, and I don't mean to, because I do see its value and I see why it could spark important thoughts and conversations. Just didn't work for me. I'm gonna give it 3 stars, and I probably will continue thinking about it because I do think it is one that, you know, maybe lingers, which is cool, but it's a 3-star for now. With that, I'm going to get started on my next book, The Finalists. My battery is dying, so I don't have a lot of time to talk about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started reading this physically today when I get a chance. And this one, I'm sure I will check in partway through because it's a bit longer. I'll be reading it physically, so I won't be speeding through it quite as fast. Okay, here with an update because I am on page 92 of The Finalists. I was able to read during my whole like lunch break today and a little bit in between a couple of meetings, and it's reading really fast and I'm really invested in the story so far. So basically, like I mentioned, this is about 6 students who go to this private college, and they're all trying to earn a scholarship that is only given to one of them. And in order to earn the scholarship or to compete for the scholarship, they all have to go to this house on campus that was the founder of the college, his house. So it's super old, kind of creepy. It's been like preserved for generations. And apparently the tradition is that they have to give up their cell phones, their smartwatches, anything that might allow them to communicate with the outside world. And then in the morning, they have to write a prompted essay about a certain topic. And then in the afternoon, they have to meet with someone and do like an interview, and the person they're meeting with is a descendant of like the founder of this college and the owner of the scholarship. His like great grandpa was that guy, so he's the one making the decision about who gets the scholarship. So they do an interview with him, and I'm finding it pretty interesting because yes, that's a weird premise to like be locked inside a house in order to compete for a scholarship, but there are some traditions at like universities and things that are kind of weird. So it's almost believable that people just kind of do this year after year and don't really think about how actually creepy it is or how bad it would be if something went wrong inside the house and people weren't able to get out. So I like it. You have to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but in my opinion, not that much. And I like that it's a generally creepy environment. This book is also interesting because it seems like you're gonna be mainly following the students, which you are, like it's about them, but we're actually inside the head of one of the staff members at the college, and he's just there to like facilitate things, oversee them. He's not judging the scholarship recipients. He's just making sure they all have what they need and everything's going according to plan. His role in the college, I think, is like getting alumni funding and donations. So he's actually more so appeasing like this descendant guy, making sure he stays happy so that he continues donating and doing the scholarship into the future. So it's very interesting getting this mostly impartial view to the students and the scholarship process through this guy's head and thoughts. I will say I am picturing Will Schuester from Glee as the staff member guy that we're following, because he just seems very like wholehearted and he's trying to do what's best for these students and the school and like do whatever it takes to get his job done. And his mostly wholesome personality reminds me of the teacher in Glee. And then the descendant guy, the one who is related to the original founder and is conducting the interviews and is like making the decision, he's very interesting and kind of standoffish. He arrived looking like hungover and just kind of gruff in personality, and his name is Nicholas, so for some reason I'm picturing Nick Offerman as that character. So it's kind of funny in my head having those two adult actors as the ones that I'm picturing in this book. But yeah, I'm interested. We just got to a part on page 92 where one of the students has turned up dead in the house. So they're all trying to figure out, like, was this an accident? Was he murdered? Are the rest of them in danger? What's going on? Should they continue the competition scholarship process thing? Because there's a lot of rules there about like it has to be done on a certain date, so they have to get it done today. So it's been interesting for me so far. I'm very excited to see how else it unravels, if more people are going to continue, you know, turning up dead, or if it's just like a murder mystery about this one person. And so I'm hoping my pleasant reading experience continues, but excited to dive back into this when I get a chance. We'll give you more of an update later on. But so far, this is shaping up to be kind of an underrated, underhyped find, because I have not heard anybody talk about this. And so far, the dark academia murder mystery vibes, I think, would appeal to a lot of readers. Okay, good morning everyone. I know it probably looks like the same day as before because I'm wearing yet another black crewneck sweatshirt and I'm in the same spot and room, but it is the next day and I stayed up a little late last night finishing the finalists. So I did finish my first 2 books of this readathon within the first 2 days that I've been participating, which is not exactly normal for me, but I will take it where I can get it. This book held my attention the entire time. I was very invested. I wanted to know what was going on. It was easy to read. It was fast-paced in my opinion. So I flew through it. Even as I was reading it physically, it still took me basically no time at all to read this book. And I think that's a testament to the book itself. Obviously, if a book can keep you that engaged, I think that's a pretty good sign. I don't have too much to add about my thoughts on the book from yesterday because it's the type of book that once you know the initial setup, that is what it is and you just gotta let it play out till the end. I'm sorry if you can hear all of the dogs barking. My neighbors have some very loud, very annoying dogs. So whenever I'm in my sunroom, they like to bark. But I'm gonna keep going. Yeah, there weren't any like crazy mind-blowing twists at the end of this. There obviously were reveals in terms of what was happening to the people inside the house. Nothing that I predicted, but nothing that blew my mind either. So in general, I would just say if you are someone who likes dark academia books, you like the idea of students competing is a loose word because again, they're just writing an essay and doing an interview. It's not like an actual competition, which is what I kind of thought going in. I wasn't disappointed by that, but if you're gonna be disappointed, just know that. But if that sounds interesting to you and you just wanna have a fun, fast-paced, quick book that has that play out, I think that this does that. I am going to end up giving it 3 stars, so kind of an underwhelming rating because I just don't think it was anything more than a 3-star thriller. But honestly, 3-star thrillers are like 90% of the thrillers I read and they're still my favorites. So hopefully that makes sense why that is my rating. So unfortunately 3 stars to start out the readathon, but I'm still very happy to have read these books. And just this morning I posted my all black outfit of the day, so I have officially earned the bat character for this readathon and we still have days left, so I'm gonna pick a new character to pursue and keep reading for this readathon. So things are definitely going well. So the next character that I think I'm going to pursue is the Ghost, which again has 2 reading prompts that you have to read in order and then an activity prompt. So the 2 reading prompts are to read a spooky book and then a book written by an author who is no longer alive. I may have to stretch that one a little bit because no books on my current TBR are by dead authors, at least that I know of. So I'm gonna get creative with that one, but I'll save it till I start that book. And then the activity is to watch a scary movie. So we'll see if I can convince my husband to watch one with me or if I'm just gonna have to watch one by myself one day. Not sure. But my spooky book that I am going to pick, again, because I'm not really a horror person, I'm not going in the horror direction. I'm going to stay within my mystery thrillers. I'm going to read Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. The reason I'm calling this spooky is because it is about characters who go to this secluded island. I believe it's like an inheritance storyline or something like that. Or maybe not inheritance. I think they're going to this island for their grandma's birthday. Yes, Nana's 80th birthday party on this island. They get cut off from humanity when the tide comes in. Nana turns up dead, and then another family member turns up dead. So obviously the rest of them are pretty freaked out, trying to figure out what's going on. Everybody is reading this book right now, so I want to get on that hype train. So this is going to be my spooky book. Normally I save my book of the month books and I do dedicated reading vlogs for them. However, I usually like to wait until I have at least 2 or 3 books to read all at one time, and this month I only got 1 book in my book of the month box, and I don't want to wait to read this one until future months when I get more book of the month books. So I'm just gonna read this one now, and at least I'm still vlogging it somewhere. I also believe Jan is doing reading sprints tonight on our channel for this readathon, so I'm sure I'll be reading this for those. So that's gonna be a really fun time. So check in soon. Happy to report the readathon is still going really well. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. It is the next day. I am not coming at you with a finished book, so we are back to my normal like reading speed and schedule, but I can give you an update because I did start Daisy Darker. I started this last night on Jan's reading sprints, which by the way, I had so much fun participating in. Jan is such a sweet person, and I know it doesn't take a lot to like remember who people are on their accounts and like remember their names and the posts they make and stuff, but Jan was like, everyone who was in her chat, she was talking about like, oh, I remember your post from this morning or whatever. And she remembered my post that I did on my story. And again, it's not that big of a deal, but like, it feels nice when you know people remember you, and especially as someone who my account does not say my name in it. So I truly do notice and appreciate when people remember that my name is Jordyn, even though my channel or my Instagram is Sorry Book Solid. Jan was like, I saw your outfit of the day post yesterday, and I just think that's really sweet, and it shows a lot about how much Jan is putting energy into this readathon and like interacting with the people who are participating. So this is just a little Jan gush session. I obviously am familiar with her channel and watch her videos and stuff, but I haven't really gotten a chance to like talk back and forth with her. And so this was a nice little glimpse into that, and I think she's a really great person. So a little shout out in case this whole readathon vlog wasn't a good enough pitch to go check out Jan's channel. I can now tell you, I think she's a really good person too. So check out her channel if you haven't already. But okay, anyway, Daisy Darker. I didn't get as far into this as I was hoping last night. Like I said, I was on sprints, but the first sprint I was putting my kids to bed, and then the second sprint I was able to read during, and then I don't know if she did more sprints, but my husband got home in the middle of that second sprint, and then we had some neighbors come over for a drink. So I had to leave sprints a little bit early. So I only got 38 pages into Daisy Darker, and so far I can say I'm enjoying it. We are reading from the perspective of Daisy, who is part of obviously the Darker family. They are a very interesting family. Daisy is one of 3 sisters had by a mom and a dad that are now divorced, but still both part of the grandma's family. Like, the dad is the son of the grandma, who they call Nana, and even though he got divorced from his wife still is in touch with Nana. So they're all coming to Nana's house on this island for Nana's 80th birthday, and I'm only at the part where they're all arriving. They're like catching up after not seeing each other for quite a while because they're not exactly the closest family. They have a lot of history and baggage, it seems like. And one thing I'm really coming to enjoy about Alice Feeney's writing, I will say I have not read all of her books. Before this book, she has released 4 other thrillers. I have only read Rock, Paper, Scissors, which is her most recent one, and then I read Sometimes I Lie, which was her debut. I have not read the 2 in between. And I honestly don't have many thoughts or memories of that first one, Sometimes I Lie. So mostly my opinions about Alice Feeney are coming from these 2 books. And one thing I really remember about this book, this is about a husband and wife who are having marital issues, and they go to this secluded church that's been converted into like an Airbnb as kind of a getaway thing. And I remember this book just having so many like quippy one-liners about being in a marriage and things that you get annoyed about the other person or that just drain on you after a while, being in a marriage with someone for so long. And they're the kind of lines that like are meant to be funny and you laugh at them, but then it's also like, oh, but that also hits a little too close to home. You know, like that's funny, but real. And I'm finding the same type of lines in this book, like just little one-liners that Daisy is saying about her family that are funny, but if you take just a half second more to really think about it, you're like, oh, but that's really real. So I'm enjoying that. It definitely makes it entertaining to read, and it also makes it a little bit easier to connect to, because not only do I feel like I'm reading about the Darker family, but there are traits in these characters that I can relate to, so it almost feels like reading about my family in a way too. And that is one of my absolute favorite things in books, is when I can directly relate to it, whether it's a romance that I can see myself in, or a parent-child relationship that I can see myself in, or just a general family dynamic. So all good things so far. Nothing creepy has happened yet or anything. It's just the first night when everyone is arriving. They are arriving on October 30th, and October 31st, Halloween, is Nana's birthday, so I assume that's when everything is gonna go down. So just waiting for that day to start and for Nana to die, I guess, is going to be the inciting incident. So yeah, I will be continuing to read this as soon as I get a chance. Today is Friday, so it's the last work day of the week. I actually scheduled some live productivity sprints on my channel this morning starting at 10 o'clock because we all know it can be hard to focus sometimes on Fridays, and I do have some things to get done before I leave for the day, so I want to stay focused. And then as soon as I'm done for the day, I can dive back into Daisy Darker. I would love to finish this today. I don't know if that's realistic, but I do want to finish this book and one other book before the end of Sunday. So that's it. I will probably check in with you later today. Okay, lighting is weird. I don't look great, but it's 9:30 p.m. on Friday night. I am on page 163 of Daisy Darker and wanted to check in now because I'm definitely going to be binging the rest of this book tonight. So I gotta give some midway thoughts. I am really enjoying this book. I think the atmosphere is super creepy and Alice Feeney is doing a nice job of like incorporating it into the story, but not making it super cliched or over the top. This book, I don't know what the like comp titles are that it is most often compared to, but I would say this is 100% the perfect combination between the movie Knives Out, which is an isolated closed circle murder mystery about this family who was all at this grandfather's house for this party, and then the grandfather died that night and you're trying to figure out who killed him, and like everyone in the family has a motive. There's a lot of like inheritance talk and money talk and just family dynamics. So that feels super similar to the plot that's going on here. And then that mixed with The Guest List, which is a book by Lucy Foley. And that one is about a wedding that's happening on this isolated island. And then a storm happens that kind of traps everyone on the island. And then people start turning up dead. And that is like the exact setting and situation of this book. So seriously, it could not be a better combination of those two things. And I'm loving it for that. I really enjoyed Knives Out. I didn't love The Guest List as much, but a lot of people love that book. So I do think a lot of people are going to like this book in general. I also really like that this book is only one POV. We're only following Daisy's perspective. I definitely prefer single POV in books. Like that's my ideal first person single POV. And it's not that I can't like books that are multiple POVs. I just think it's much less confusing and I connect to the main character the absolute most in that type of book. So I'm enjoying this in contrast to like The Guest List and many other of those closed circle type mysteries where you often follow like each of the characters. That's what The Guest List did, and I just found that a little confusing and a lot harder to like relate to any of the characters or really connect to them because you spend so little time with each of those characters compared to a whole book from Daisy's perspective. The one thing I did want to say, the reason I'm coming on for this update is because at this point, I'm 100% confident I know what the twist is going to be. I feel very clever for having figured it out, but I'm not sure what like the overall reveal is going to be. I'm not exactly sure who's doing everything here. I don't know how everything is going to be explained. So I'm still very invested and excited to figure all of that out. But you heard it here. I know the twist. I think I know a couple other people who have read this book who also guessed the twist early on. I'm also still really enjoying Alice Feeney's writing, and I wanted to bring this up because I watched a couple of vlogs today. First, I watched Lauren's daily vlog from Lauren Love Reads. She is reading this book, and she said something similar to what I said earlier about Alice Feeney putting in like those one-liner quotes that have more of a profound meaning behind them. She said something really similar like that in her vlog, and so I commented and was like, I noticed that too. I love that about the book too. So that was fun to kind of share in that enjoyment with her. But then I watched Ashley's vlog from Ashley's Little Library. She posted a reading new thrillers vlog today, and she read Daisy Darker, obviously, and she pointed out that one of the things she was most annoyed by in this book was that Alice Feeney just like overuses metaphors and tries to make things sound more profound than they need to be. And I can totally see how that aspect of her writing could be something that you either love or you hate. If you hate it, that would be super frustrating to just read it throughout the whole entire book. So I commented on her video and was like, I actually like that, but I can see why somebody wouldn't like that. And I'm sorry that that was probably annoying to read. And I just thought that was a good kind of reminder that we all have different opinions on tropes and writing styles and everything in books, and that's perfectly okay. People like different things in books, and I think that's awesome. So I'm gonna get back to reading this book and hopefully finish it tonight. I definitely think that I can because I'm flying through it and I have nothing else to do. So gonna get back to it, and I will check in once I finished it to tell you my final thoughts and then get into the next book I'm reading, which I'm already also really excited about. Okay, hello everyone. Happy Saturday. It is 1:22 p.m. and I'm finally getting a chance to check back in because my kids are taking a nap and my husband is running an errand. So it is just me with some peace and quiet for a couple of hours. And first things first, I have to talk about Daisy Darker because I did finish this book and I had such a fun time reading it. I think the atmosphere of this book is so good. I was completely intrigued the whole time. I really wanted to know what was happening. I was correct on the twist, which of course I'm a little conflicted about because on one hand, it feels good knowing that you picked up on clues and were able to guess a twist in a thriller. On the other hand though, I am someone who loves the feeling of having the rug swooped up from under me. I love being completely shocked by a twist, even if it is something that I feel like I should have caught on to earlier. I like the feeling of being surprised. So since I don't often guess plot twists, it was fun guessing this one, but I do think it ultimately hindered my enjoyment of the book just a little bit. But like I said yesterday, I didn't know how all of it was going to come together, so I did enjoy that part of it too, the ending of this book. Figuring out what was going on, what happened in the past, all of that. So overall, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Not a new favorite thriller, but definitely a solid read. I would highly recommend this to fans of Alice Feeney, to fans of locked room mysteries, to fans of creepy, isolated atmospheres, especially like in the middle of a storm. And yeah, I agree with all the hype this book has been getting. I think it's completely solid. Unique enough that I don't feel like I've read this 100 times, but also familiar enough that it was easy to, you know, get into and follow and just have fun with. So that was really fun. So now the next prompt I have to complete in order to get the ghost is a book by an author who is dead. And my plans are changing here slightly. I was going to cheat this prompt because I really want to read the book I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. She is a Nickelodeon actress that has written this memoir that everybody is talking about. This book is literally sold out everywhere. I have a copy of it through Libro.fm because it was one of their ALC titles. So I'm super grateful to have that copy and I really want to listen to it. And I was going to stretch this prompt slightly and say by an author whose mother is dead and have that be my cheeky way of fitting it into this readathon. But I think I can fulfill this prompt with another book that I kind of have been meaning to read. Like it hasn't been high on my priority list, but I've heard a ton of people talk about it. And that is And Then We Were None by Agatha Christie. Mainly, of course, because Daisy Darker was heavily inspired by that book. And it's the type of book that like I'm interested in, but not so interested that I've made it a priority. But I do think I would like to know what everyone's talking about with that book and what so many mystery thrillers these days are inspired by. And I did look and it is on Scribd and it's only like 6 hours long. So I am gonna go ahead and listen to And Then There Were None. That will check off my book by a dead author prompt. And then I still will be able to fit in I'm Glad My Mom Died after this. If I can finish that one by tomorrow, I guess I can include my thoughts in this vlog too, but it will just be kind of a bonus, not towards any of the characters for this readathon. So that's my new plan. I'm pretty proud with how that has all worked out because I didn't have any other dead authors that I wanted to read from at this moment in time, but Daisy Darker inspired me to finally want to read And Then There Were None. So I'm gonna pop on this audiobook. I have a lot of cleaning around the house to do. Our house is a disaster, and actually part of what my husband is doing right now is picking up some new storage stuff for us to be able to organize our kids' toys and books and our crap. So I'll take you with me for my cleaning that'll be the B-roll for today. Otherwise, not a very exciting Saturday, just chilling at home. Okay everyone, good news. I managed to finish And Then There Were None today. It is Sunday night, the last day of the readathon. It's 6:47 p.m. I actually have Jan's reading sprints on right now. She is doing some like last minute finish your TBRs reading sprints, and actually in just a few minutes I am going to be on reading sprints on Keisha's channel. So I wanted to wrap up this video quick before I have to get on. I'm in our basement right now because this is the quietest place as my husband is getting our kids ready for bed right now. But anyway, And Then There Were None. I read this for the prompt of a book by an author who is dead. This is a classic by Agatha Christie. Everybody knows this book, so I probably don't have to give much of a synopsis, but this is about 10 strangers who are all invited to this island for various reasons, some of them more mysterious than others, but everyone is gathered, and then when they're all in the same place, it's revealed that they all have been accused of murdering somebody, or somebody thinks that they have murdered somebody, whether it was by accident or through their job or whatever. So then they start to get this creepy feeling like, did somebody gather all of us here on purpose to try to teach us a lesson or something? Most of the people obviously think they are innocent, but then they start turning up dead one by one. And I guess this is like the first murder mystery book that did this format. And now, of course, many mystery thrillers have drawn inspiration from this book and do similar premises for books all the time these days. So with that in mind, of course, I really respect this book. I think it was very clever for what it was. It was very short and fast-paced, which is a pleasant surprise. I feel like classics are either super long or super short, and for a mystery thriller, I definitely appreciate it being on the short side so that it is just action-packed. And then I enjoyed at the ending, it like laid everything out there. It completely explained what happened, why it happened, who was responsible, all of that. So in general, I liked all of that. I will say I went into this book expecting more of a twist at the end. Specifically, Gabby from Gabby Reads read this book recently and she was like mind blown in her video. And so for some reason, I think my expectations were just too high for what this reveal and twist was going to be. In my opinion, it really was just a reveal and not really a twist, if that makes sense. It just explained everything that happened. So overall, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I'm very happy that I read it. I am very excited now to read more books with the knowledge of what And Then There Were None is, so that I can compare books that claim to be compared to it. I will say Daisy Darker, I see a lot of similarities. So I think that's pretty cool to be able to recognize now some of the more minute details of what makes a book and Then There Were None retelling, other than just the very general premise of people start turning up dead. So that is the last book for this readathon. I did not watch a scary movie, which would have wrapped up my whole earning a ghost achievement, but I'm still gonna kind of consider that mostly earned because I did read both books for the 2 reading prompts for that one. So we're gonna say I earned the Bat and the Ghost. Quick recap on my ratings. First, I read Notes on an Execution. I gave it 3 stars. Then I read The Finalists by David Bell. I gave that 3 stars. I read Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney and I gave it 4 stars. And then I read And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie and gave it 3 stars. And I know I mentioned wanting to read Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, and I do plan on doing that this month still. I just didn't get to it within this readathon. So you will have to stay tuned for my August wrap up to hear my thoughts on that book if you are particularly interested. So all in all, this was such a fun readathon to participate in. I hope that Jan does this again. Jan, I think you were an awesome host. I know I've already told you that, but I am so glad that this readathon has been getting so much buzz and love and hype. It really was a great readathon. So thank you so much for hosting. Everyone else watching this, please let me know if you participated in this readathon or if you plan to next time if it becomes a thing again. And of course, if you've read any of the books that I read in this video, let me know your thoughts. Otherwise, I don't think I have anything else. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one.